The sky, the new front line of war. The nervous system of our entire planet doesn't lie within the human body. It's floating, about 400 kilometers or roughly 250 miles above us. The sky that seems so peaceful is, in truth, the most critical battlefield of the 21st century. And whoever controls it holds the power to switch human civilization on or off. Do you truly own your modern life? Or are you just living on borrowed time, granted by invisible machines orbiting overhead? From GPS and the internet to global finance and missile guidance, everything from the call you're making right now to the plane flying above depends on these silent steel guardians. But there's a truth few dare to speak aloud. These digital backbones are also humanity's greatest vulnerability. They are powerful, yet fragile. One precise strike could cripple the entire planet without a single shot fired. And the most terrifying part? There would be no explosion, no warning, only deadly silence as every connection goes dark. The silent war has already begun. Every major power is developing anti-satellite weapons while publicly denying it. Because out there, just one mistake or one miscalculation could throw the entire world into chaos. Billions of lives would be affected in a single heartbeat, every connection severed. The cost would be civilization itself. Kosmos 2570, the silent assassination in orbit. August 9th, 2024, a Soyuz rocket lifted off from Plesetsk, carrying a satellite named Kosmos 2570. On paper, it was a communications satellite, but Western tracking stations soon noticed something that didn't add up. Kosmos 2570 began to maneuver, not a minor adjustment, but a deliberate, sustained drift. Kilometer by kilometer, it shifted its orbit until it lined up alarmingly close to a classified US spy satellite. Imagine two spacecraft, each worth billions of dollars, moving at orbital velocity, over 17,000 miles per hour. The distance between them shrinks to just a few dozen meters. In the vacuum of space, that's point-blank range. One tiny error, and both become a storm of high-speed shrapnel. This wasn't an accident. It was a message written in the silent language of orbital mechanics. I see you. I can reach you. The decision to strike is mine. This is the new normal. Kosmos 2570 is just one name in a growing list of so-called inspector satellites. Orbital platforms with unclear missions and unsettling capabilities. Some nations call them maintenance vehicles. In intelligence circles, we call them co-orbital anti-satellite systems. Predators waiting for the order to attack. Over the past 3 years, U.S. Space Command has publicly documented more than 20 such high-risk approaches by Russian and Chinese satellites. Each one is a test, probing our defenses, our thresholds, and our willingness to respond. This isn't just a race of technology. It's a contest of psychology, played out at hypersonic speed. Every close pass asks the same question. How far can we push you before you push back? And here's the real question. Next time one of their satellites approaches one of ours, what if it doesn't just watch? What if it extends a robotic arm, activates a jammer, or simply gives a gentle, deadly nudge? Would we even know it was an attack? Or will the next war in space begin with a single touch, silent, deniable, and fatal? In the next part, you'll see how one civilian disguised satellite can carry out a perfect orbital strike. The killer whale scenario. The perfect attack. Imagine a perfect attack. No explosions, no declarations of war, just patience, precision, and a silent killer hiding in plain sight above the Earth. Phase 1, infiltration. A climate research satellite is launched into orbit. Its paperwork is entirely civilian. Its mission appears harmless. It blends into the crowd of thousands of other satellites. Just another anonymous point of light. Phase 2, the stalk. For months it watches, its ion thrusters hum, making tiny, near imperceptible adjustments. Its cameras study the target, recording rotation, communication patterns, and every habit. This is no longer mere surveillance. This is behavioral profiling. Phase 3, the kill. The strike is timed for maximum effect when the target passes through Earth's shadow. Then the operation begins. A robotic arm unfolds, not with violence, but with surgical precision. It nudges the target's antenna just a few degrees out of alignment. Or a low-power alignment laser is held on a critical optical sensor for a few seconds too long. Or a spoofed radio command tells the satellite to shut down non-essential systems. The outcome is the same: signal lost. Phase 4, the ghost. The attacker retracts its arm, powers down the laser, and drifts back to its original orbit. It becomes a research satellite again. On the ground, engineers see only a cascade of error codes. No debris, no fireball, no forensics. Only silence. This is the killer whale strategy. Isolate a target from the herd, disable it with surgical finesse, then vanish. The strategic effect is immediate and devastating. Lose one key satellite and you lose the eyes of your reconnaissance network. Lose one and you lose the voice of tactical communications. Lose one and you lose guidance for precision weapons. Within hours, a modern military can be blinded. Communications fail, command breaks down, supply chains snap. Chaos spreads, affecting millions of civilians who never hear a shot fired. And the attacker? They can look the world in the eye and say, it was a technical malfunction. This is the ultimate weapon of modern war. The ability not only to destroy, but to inflict catastrophic damage while maintaining total deniability. But there is a more terrifying evolution: the swarm. Instead of one large killer whale, imagine a mothership releasing a cloud of tiny microsatellites. They descend on a target like piranhas, overwhelming it in minutes, then disperse into orbital traffic. With today's cheap satellite technology, this nightmare is no longer science fiction. So, we're left with a final unsettling question. When an attack leaves no trace, when the only evidence is a missing signal, can we even call it an act of war? Or have we entered a new era in which the deadliest blows are the ones we can never prove? The legal void, responding to an unprovable attack. Space has no borders. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty once called it the province of all mankind. But that ideal collapses under a simple truth. Law depends on evidence, and in space, the most dangerous attacks leave none. The legal framework is outdated. It bans weapons of mass destruction in orbit, but says nothing about a robotic arm that quietly nudges a satellite off course. It has no clause for a laser that blinds a sensor, or a falsified data stream that convinces a satellite to shut itself down. This is the gray zone, a vast legal wilderness where aggression is designed to look like an accident. So how do nations respond to an attack they can't prove? The new strategy isn't just about defense, it's about resilience. First, make the target harder to kill. Instead of relying on a few billion-dollar satellites, the future lies in constellations, hundreds of smaller, cheaper ones. If one fails, the network survives. It's a strategy of graceful degradation, not total collapse. Second, build a better immune system. Next-generation satellites are shielded with advanced encryption to prevent hijacking. They're equipped with AI anomaly detection, able to sense when something feels off. Some can even perform emergency maneuvers when they detect a threat. But that creates a new danger. If the AI misreads a harmless maneuver as hostile, it could react, and that reaction might spark the very crisis humans hope to avoid. Third, the power of the crowd. The key to finding the culprit may lie in shared awareness. The US-led Space Domain Awareness Initiative acts like a neighborhood watch for orbit, using a global sensor network to track every object circling Earth. The more nations share their data, the harder it becomes for a killer satellite to move unseen. But this demands trust, the very thing these covert attacks are meant to destroy. And that brings us to the hardest challenge of all: deterrence. How do you deter an attack its perpetrator can deny? Military retaliation is nearly impossible without proof. Sanctions are weak when the crime is unprovable. So the most powerful deterrent may not be punishment, but building systems so resilient and so transparent that a covert strike simply can't achieve its goal. We are in a race between those trying to build cooperation and transparency in space, and those developing ever more invisible weapons. The outcome will decide whether space remains a shared commons or becomes a lawless frontier where the rules are written by whoever strikes first and quiet enough to get away with it. Humanity's final frontier is no longer exploration. It's the question of whether we can govern the darkness before it consumes us. The future: autonomous swarms and algorithmic warfare. Warfare in space is evolving beyond human reaction times. We are entering an era where victory will be decided not by missiles but by networks, not by generals pulling levers, but by autonomous systems. At the heart of this shift is the concept of the autonomous satellite swarm. The U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency is pushing Project Blackjack, a cluster of hundreds of small, low-cost, tightly connected satellites. If one is destroyed, the network reroutes, self-heals, and maintains capability. It's a distributed system, resilient, redundant, and lethal. China counters with an asymmetric approach: smart debris. Microsatellites disguised as space junk can lie dormant for months, then suddenly activate to maneuver close to and collide with high-value targets. The strike is perfectly disguised as an accidental collision. Automation creates what strategists call the kill chain, from detection and identification to the firing decision. Its goal is to compress that timeline from minutes down to milliseconds. And that is where the real danger begins: the autonomous kill chain. Imagine a tiny flaw in the algorithm. A sensor misclassifies a routine maneuver by a civilian satellite as hostile. The AI, following its programmed rules of engagement, authorizes a defensive strike. Allied systems detect that aggressive action and trigger their own automated responses. Within seconds, a cascade unfolds. A war ignites and concludes before human analysts even understand what happened. This is the threshold of no return for automated warfare. When decision speed outpaces human oversight and conscience, we have handed life and death authority to a string of code. We are not merely building new weapons. We are constructing a new theater of conflict, governed by logic humans may no longer control. In that future, war may not begin with a declaration or a gunshot. It may begin with a single line of code, and if then, executed in perfect, terrible silence. Final thought: when trust dies in silence. There's something that no technical report, no orbital map, and no stream of data can ever capture. The deep human fear that lives beneath it all. When every point of light in the night sky could be a tool of discovery, or a weapon waiting for orders. When we can no longer tell friend from foe, war in space doesn't just blind satellites, it blinds trust itself. Nations no longer believe each other's explanations. Those civilian satellites, once seen as symbols of progress, are now objects of suspicion. Did you come to explore or to attack? We once looked to the heavens for inspiration. Now, we look up to count potential threats. Space stations, once icons of international cooperation, have become strategic flashpoints. Scientific missions blur with military surveillance. Transcontinental calls, GPS signals, commercial flights, all depend on systems so fragile that a single glitch or a single malicious command could bring them crashing down. Imagine a world where every nation secretly arms its satellites, but no one admits it. Where technical malfunctions happen every month, and no one knows if they're accidents or quiet warnings. This is not a hot war. It is not a cold war. It is a war of uncertainty, where the most powerful weapon isn't a missile, but doubt. And in that kind of war, what remains for humanity? We built satellites to expand our vision. Now we use them to spy, to distrust, to threaten each other. We reached for the stars, only to turn the sky into an invisible minefield. One day, when these satellites all begin to fail, we won't just lose the internet, navigation, or communication. We'll lose faith in the world we built. Space war doesn't begin with a gunshot. It begins with a click, a spoofed command, a glitch in the code. And it won't end with a peace treaty. It will end when no one trusts anyone. As one analyst once said, we no longer fight wars over resources, but over the control of information. And in that era, truth matters less than the power to make others doubt it. We've come so far, and yet forgotten why we sent satellites into the sky in the first place. Not to watch each other, but to understand the universe together. But this war is far from over. The next chapter will be even more frightening, because the next enemy won't need missiles, robotic arms, or proximity. It will need only one line of code. These are the stories future war tech will uncover next. Do you believe that if one nation secretly attacks another's satellite, leaving no trace, it should still be considered an act of war? And as battles rage on Earth, could the coming satellite war above us become just as destructive and just as devastating for humanity? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is Future War Tech, and we'll see you in the next episode.